A relationship? Nah, I'm good. Relationships are like puzzles. Puzzles that are unnecessarily complicated. The type that you never really solve, mostly due to somebody else actively rearranging the pieces and flipping the table. And just due to all the things that are generally required, I came to the conclusion that they're just not worth it for me personally, for far more reasons than one. So, with that being said, let's have a dialogue about it. And for starters, look, I'm not perfect. I'm almost there, but not quite. I feel like half the problem with relationships is this idea that you're supposed to be an all in one, a therapist, a conversationalist. You gotta be the best travel buddy, the mind reader, the maintenance man, the bodyguard, the emotional processor, and the punching bag. Then you gotta endure attitudes and mood swings and everything else that comes with. If you mishandle it, do anything wrong, or fail to do the smallest task, it seems as though it will always be used against you at some point later on. And people always say that you have to work harder in relationships to make them work, but it seems as though if you're the guy, it's about you having to work harder. So they'll say it's not about being perfect, but you still gotta do the right thing at the right time, at the right moments. Otherwise, it eventually reaches a point of contention. It just feels like you can never take a day off as a man. It's like a full-time job that has arbitrary requirements and checkpoints and tasks, and yet it seems like the right moves are quickly forgotten and the wrong moves never stop getting brought up. Hell, even the neutral moves can cause issues if they're not checked after a while. There's always so many things you have to navigate through, like, did you call her enough? Did you talk to her enough? Did you show her enough attention? Is she happy? Are you making her happy? Are you being a real man? Is the attraction being maintained? Are you making enough money? Are you passing her tests? Is she happy? I feel like that's the biggest one. It's around the clock, never ending. And if you think the relationship is somehow low maintenance, you might not be paying close enough attention. And honestly, I think a lot of guys don't realize the amount of work that goes into the relationship in general. I mean, I feel like I can speak for many when I say the thought process is usually, okay, we're together now, let's just chill. But I feel like for women, on the other hand, it's like, is he the best I can do? Is he doing enough for me right now? Are there enough emotional roller coasters? Are we arguing enough? Is he invested enough? Why do I feel like this? Am I happy? Right? I've always said that the overall temperature of your relationship is dependent on the woman. If the man is unhappy, who really cares? If she's unhappy, you won't hear the end of it though. It'll be all about what you aren't doing, what you need to be doing, what you should have been doing, and why you better be doing it soon. And if there's nothing to complain about, well, you're boring and you need to spice things up, right? It's what they always say. And if you're really lucky, she'll bring the chaos to you, starting arguments, trying to get reactions out of you, passive aggressiveness, and even some good old cheating. Their source of entertainment or deviation from a normal life is not a hobby, but it's the man doing stuff for her. I just think it's rooted in narcissism and unrealistic expectations in many cases. My next point is that I'm not going to go back and forth about anything. If you're mad, too bad. I'm not dealing with attitudes, all these random emotional shifts, mood swings, clashing. Nope. And what's the point really? I mean, you know how it really goes. Something comes up, argument takes place, y'all get mad, then it gets settled, or maybe it doesn't, only for the same thing to pop up a week or two later, or a month later, whatever it is. Like, honestly, I can't bother with it, seriously. The first time an argument occurs, I'm out. It's hard for me to sit there and deal with that. Like, you're not gonna stress me out. It's not gonna happen. And they say communication is key, but honestly, that's an oversimplification. Any guy who's been in a relationship knows that communication only goes so far. Understanding and discernment are way more important, if anything. And let's not forget the good old cost and maintenance of a relationship. Relationships and women will always cost you in some way, form, or fashion. I think a lot of guys believe that relationships are investments, or at least they are sold the idea that relationships are investments. But really, it's a subscription plan. You pay, you pay, you pay, and then when you stop paying, it ends. Because the thing is, you don't just spend money, right? You pay attention, you waste energy, And you also spend time. You just keep putting more and more into it. It seems as though their mindset isn't focused on what you've done for them in the past, it's focused on what have you done for me lately. And truth is, it eventually gets to a point of diminishing returns for you. All those dates, the time, the attention, the emotional support, the compliance, the passivity, the gifts, the donations, the undue apologies. You're always having to give her something to sustain things. And again, I'll always say, maintaining a relationship is an everyday thing. Even though you think things are chill or fine or you're just going through the motions, there could be something underlying there. You just don't know. And sometimes it takes months or years for things to fester and then they get worse before they get better. And as time passes and the relationship goes, there's like more and more that gets tacked on to the top of it. There's money problems, extra responsibilities. Some people have kids, you get extra bills, the arguments start piling up, leases, signed documents, and even a signed marriage contract. It's a lot to manage, and everything is teetering, held together by love or attraction. So what happens when you subtract love or attraction? It's not going to be too pretty. That's just the reality of it. Compromise is another one, man. I prefer my life being my own. The amount of compromises that you have to make in a relationship are numerous. It often feels like relationships are sustained by your effort and her feelings. How many times do I have to plan everything, make concessions, apologize when I'm right, adjust the way I talk, remember to say or do things at the right time? I feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes, man. I just can't bother. Lots of guys are okay with doing those things though, right? That happy wife, happy life, happy girl, happy world mindset. I can't do that. Honestly, man, y'all can keep that mindset over there. It's wild how in so many cases, these guys have to relinquish their true self to satisfy what she wants or what she needs. There's guys who lose their hobbies, their free time, their personal time, and they lose individual progress in things that they enjoy doing just to sustain a relationship that's basically just a resource pit. The problem with compromise is that in a situation between two people that want two different outcomes, one has to sacrifice their goal for the other. And eventually, it might create resentment or regret over your decision or your direction in life. And have I mentioned autonomy yet? Yeah, autonomy and freedom will always be a necessity for me. I just value my individual space and my ability to have options more than anything. In a relationship, I can't just get up and go somewhere at the drop of my hat. Everything has to be two. I just prefer being able to get up and travel or go places or do things by myself, whenever I want to, pretty much. I'd rather do that than have to be questioned or nagged or complained to about it. These are really simple things that can become big issues in long-term relationships. Having to live with somebody or go everywhere with them or make every decision with them. Like, being in a relationship can be great, but it's not great to be in all the time, For me, the idea of a relationship sort of means that I have to give up my freedom, my space, my autonomy for the foreseeable future just because I'm attracted to you. I don't think I will. And pressure. In every relationship you come across, there's always an implied pressure that you need to commit. It doesn't just come from her either. It comes from society, her family, friends, mutuals, co-workers, social media, even people who just meet you at a glance. Because in our society, it's not enough for a man to commit his time, emotions, effort, money, and energy. Nope. You got to get the government involved too, because that's what real love is, apparently. As a man, there's always going to be that burden of performance on you to do things the right way according to how she wants it. This will almost never be overtly stated. You kind of just have to figure it out. The pressure to perform financially and situationally, sexually, emotionally, you name it. Then there's the pressure of measuring up to arbitrary standards that get placed upon you. And if you don't jump through those hoops, you'll be in hot water too, and she'll get bored and look for your replacement. A lot of women have this thing where they never believe that they failed in life. They just believe that they didn't find the right man. Now let's talk about obligation. And it's kind of piggybacking off the last point I made about pressure, but it's still a major issue. As a man, it seems like whenever you enter a relationship, her problems automatically become yours. Short on rent, your problem. Missing payments on bills, your problem. Car broken down, your problem. Oh, she's bored too? That's your problem too. There's even this saying that goes, if a woman is sleeping with a man, she should be able to ask him for anything. Then we get to birthdays, holidays, Valentine's Day, sweetest day, all these different events that you have to keep up with. Oh, did I mention anniversaries too? It's like if you mismanage a couple of these or they don't go as planned, don't think she's gonna forget it. It's like a Ferris wheel of BS. There's just some obligations you can't avoid, especially not with social media around. When she logs on to Instagram and sees other girls in Turks and Caicos and Dubai, getting helicopter rides, rose petals on the floor, 25th floor balcony, rooms filled with red bottoms and Gucci apparel and luxury handbags, yeah, you ain't ducking the smoke that's coming from her. Not when so many of them believe that relationships are purely about serving and spoiling them. And look, we don't have to get to the good stuff here because it's real bad out here. I think we have a lot of people who tend to, their heart's in the right place and they give advice like, yeah, man, just find the right person. I appreciate the suggestion, but you think people haven't tried that yet? The problem is that the culture we currently live in lends itself to constant comparisons and microwave mindsets and instant disposability. Nobody is safe nowadays. Never before in history have we had so many opportunities for relationships to go wrong. Boredom, cheating, the 7-Eleven strategy, which I'll talk about in a later video. You got managing attraction, misrepresentation, sneaky links, social media, side dudes, communicating with exes, baiting and switching, baby trapping, the ick problem, girls' nights out. It's not sweet out here. Even if you can dodge one problem, you can't duck them all. And personally, I'd rather stay away from things that I have to watch or monitor or, keep my eye on. No matter how much vetting you think you can do today, it won't tell you how somebody else will be in 2030. The best you can really do is vet the things and people around her. I mean, thing is, she could be a liar. Plenty of guys get burned by that. Which also reminds me that we have these things called phones nowadays too, where we can pretty much access anybody at any given time, in any given place, 24/7. WhatsApp, text messaging, social media, it's just too much. It's right there. And it leads to relationships being very different than they've ever been before. I don't trust it. And it's never surprising when I hear people breaking up for all sorts of reasons, especially cheating. It's to be expected. And to be honest, for me, all in all, I mean, sure, relationships can have positive aspects, but the negatives seem to be far more frequent and easier to come across. It just seems as though there are so many ways that things can go wrong versus the other way around. I've always said that I've been more productive and peaceful and purposeful by just being solo. And I think it's easy to look at relationships and love with rose-tinted glasses, but ultimately, everybody is not meant to thrive in those circumstances. So like many things in life, relationships are easy to get into, but hard to get out of. Unfortunately, love tends to blind us into believing we're making the best decision, even when it's not the most logical. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like below and leave a comment. Check out my newsletter where I share notes just like this to your email inbox. And yeah, subscribe for more.